Hello, hello, hello. Welcome in, everybody. How is everybody doing tonight? Hopefully, you're having a great evening, a great Monday evening. If you were not with us for the first live, welcome, welcome in. If you're with us for the last live, welcome back because we be doing videos, lives all the time on this channel right now. We're definitely keeping you guys fully. I think myself, I'm keeping you fully stocked with content, and I know every other creator on the platform has been dishing out content left and right as well. So you guys are probably pretty behind on a lot of your cases that you cover or that you follow. But welcome in. This time, let me say hi to people since last time I just went right into it and didn't even say hi to y'all. Just was that excited to read those documents, you know? Hey, Stephanie. Hey, Lenora. Hey, Ladybug. And if Sears is in here, I don't know if she's in here yet. But Sears, thank you for the comment after the live. I appreciate that. She said I did a good job reading, and that makes me feel good because I know I stumble over my words pretty often. Hey, Roro. Hey, Ashley. My brain processes faster than like my mouth, or my mouth goes faster than my brain sometimes, or vice versa. I don't know. But welcome in, everybody. It's good to see you guys. It's good to see everybody. Hopefully, you guys had a good Monday. Hey, Pooh Bear. Catherine. We got Ladybug in here. Lenora. I'm all in here. Got you all in here tonight. Hey, Faith. Did I miss someone? Sometimes I do. If I did, let me know. Let me know. Oh, did the music not come on? It should have been on there. The intro music for my foot, sorry. For the other channel is different than this channel right now. Maybe that's what it is. But this channel should have been the same. Or did I play a different one? No, I should have played the same one that I normally play. But shoot, I might have. You never know. They give us so what it is, hey, Jamie, Linda's here. We've got Stacy, and I think I got mostly everybody. If I missed you, I'm so sorry. You heard the music? Okay. You heard the intro? Okay. I was making sure because I was like, uh-oh. I missed you, Mary Beth. Did I really? No, I didn't. If I ever miss you, Mary Beth, just make sure that you know that I say hi to you because sometimes I say hi with my eyes. Like people, I just assume, like when you walk by someone on the street and you just say hello, but it's like with your eyes. I feel like I do that with some of y'all. Pretend judge, I love that. Yeah, so we're gonna do some evening reviews. Everybody and their uncle decided to stream this trial. I did not see not one thumbnail ready for the night before the trial. I woke up today and there was probably 15 streams. I was like, what do I do? Do I go on? Do I not? I was fighting with myself. And I was like, what if you go on and only because if I went on at that time, you guys might not have got the notification. Or if you did, you might not have thought anything of it. And because you were already in a live, watching the trial. So I was like, let's just do a nightly recap because we need one. Thanks, Jamie. I appreciate that. Oh, there's Sears. Speaking of the devil. I just said thanks for saying how good I read earlier because I'm always cautious about that. So I figured tonight we'll go over. They did a breakdown. Thank goodness, because this was 8 hours today. I think trial was 8 hours. Leilani looks a little different, in my opinion, than she did last time she was there. She looks like she's filled out a little. So I'm going to assume, and I'm not saying that to be mean. I'm going to assume that jail food is okay with, she's getting used to it, or she's used to it by now. But they did do this. They broke it into like an hour and 52 minutes. And if it's slow, we could always speed it up a little bit too. And then they do take a 15-minute break. So opening statement started with the prosecutor, the state going up and starting what they were going to, kind of like the case that they're going to put on. They showed exhibits. They did all kinds of stuff. I was actually surprised that they showed us so much in the opening statements as what they did. Then you have Leilani's lawyer stand up, and he spoke for under 5 minutes, like 3 minutes. I mean, like, he literally stood up and was like, just say she's not guilty, and then sat back down. Like, I felt like that's how much effort it was. It didn't seem like her lawyer put much effort in. I don't know if he's paid or like he's retained or if he's a public defender. That I'm not sure of. If you guys know, let me know in the chat, because whew, it was pretty bad. Now, the witnesses that they had on the stand today, they didn't really say anything groundbreaking. So I figured we wouldn't really have to go over those as much as like the actual opening statement. So let me pull this up here. There we go. And welcome in, everybody. Jail food is horrible. It is. No, it is. Jail food is terrible. I hear that if you go to prison, it's better. The food's better. Now, I don't know if the chow hall is better or if you just get better commissary. You know. Yeah, I think she looks a lot different too. I think a lot of it is weight gain, like in her face and stuff too. That's why her face looks different. Because when we saw her in the green jumpsuit with their ponytail, you know, she looked pretty good then. But what I'm thinking is this is more of her healthy weight because she's not on the rugs anymore. So that could be why. That could be why too. Now, is her emotion real? I don't know. Would I like to know why? That's what I would like to know. That's what I would like to know. Why? Why would you do this? Now they're saying the night that this happened, she was supposed to go get some Oragel, but we all know that was a lie. From the Chevron, we knew that was a lie. We knew it was. She went to the Azalea Trailer Park. She purchased, I believe it was Percocets, marijuana, and something else. It was 3 different things that she purchased, but she ended up taking them all that same night. What was the other one? There was 3. I'll think of it. And they might even say it. They'll probably say it in here too. Hey, wizard. She's sober. It changes you. Yeah. So that's why I'm almost thinking like the tears could be real. But then again, I don't know. So we'll see. We'll see how I feel at the end of this. Thanks for being here, guys. We're going to go ahead. We'll play this. When we hear a lie or something crazy, you know, we'll stop and pause and be like, that was a lie, and all of that. Thank you for becoming a member. I appreciate that so much. You don't even understand. I truly appreciate that. I really, really do. It helps the channel. And I actually forgot I was going to pin that up at the top of the chat, and I forgot. I always try to like pin something up there. Don't open it. Just pin it. Okay. I swear not one of these women, though. Not one of them. Except for, I'll give Lori Vallow credit. They never want to brush up their hair. It looks like they never want to do anything with themselves. Like, I know they're going to court, but I mean, you know, you're going to court. Like, you think you would fix yourself up a little. Lauren Conlon in the back there. I don't think it is.
This is Quinton Simon, at about 1.5 years old, a little bit over that, 20 months. Like all.
I don't want to interrupt you so fast, but I wonder if she's seen any pictures of Quinton since she unalived him. Well, I mean, other than the pictures in her front yard.
Children, he was blameless, he was innocent, and he was beautiful. And like all children, he was totally defenseless. totally and completely dependent on the adults in his life to take care of him and to look out for his safety. And the evidence in this case will show that the defendant violated that trust, that most basic, sacred trust of a parent, in the most horrible way. In the middle of the night, she killed him, her own son, got in her car with his body, drove to a dumpster, and threw him away like a piece of trash.
Okay, if that's the case, if that's what we're going with, then, right? That's what I thought we were going with. Then Daniel Youngkin, how did he see Quinton at 6 a.m. sleeping if he was already in the dumpster? I have a lot of questions. We covered this whole case. It's just, these are different things that we're, hearing now.
She would go home, go to sleep like everything was normal, and wake up the next morning and report it to the police as an abduction. I woke up, my front door was open, and my child was missing.
That sounds
And
familiar.
the story started to fall apart pretty quickly because of good, solid police work. But she would go on to tell a series of evolving lies over several weeks, only moving from one lie to the next as the police picked apart the first lie and presented her with the evidence that made the first lie untenable. So now it's time to move on to lie number 2, and 3, and 4. And as they're doing this with her, they're also searching for his body, which they ultimately discovered about 6 weeks after his disappearance in a local landfill, in pieces, unfortunately. And as a result of all of that police work and investigative efforts, which I think you'll be quite proud of when you hear about them in detail, the defendant is charged with his murder. So that's sort of the 50,000-foot view, the bluff, the bottom line up front for the military folks here. A little more detail on what happened, what the evidence will show. The 2 days that we're primarily concerned with here are October 4th and 5th of 2022, specifically the night of October 4th, moving into the morning of October 5th. Now, at that time, and I'll try to go slow for those of you who are taking notes. At that time, the defendant is living here on the west side of Savannah, jurisdiction of the Chatham County Police Department, in this house that's roughly in the center, with an angle.
Just want to say this is a great map of to show you that there's no sidewalk or public easements in this area for all of those people that went out there and protested.
Ground swimming pool in the back. It's on Buckhalter Road, 535 Buckhalter Road. She had most recently lived in North Carolina, where she had met and lived with her most recent boyfriend, Daniel Youngkin, who you'll hear about. And some months before October of 2022, they had moved down and were living in this house at 535 Buckhalter. Now, the house belonged to the defendant's mother, Billy Joe Howell, who you see here, and her husband, Thomas Howell, who is not the defendant's father, but is her stepfather. Also living in the house at that time is the defendant's brother, Paul Simon. They have the same mother and the same father. And Daniel Youngkin, her boyfriend from North Carolina, and the defendant's 3 children, October of 2022, she has 3 children by 3 different men. The oldest is Zane Wharton. I think he was roughly about 3 years old at the time. Zane has been through a lot with her. He's her firstborn son, and I expect you'll hear testimony that she considered him her ride or die. That's her guy. Sky Youngkin is an infant on the far right there. That is her youngest child by Daniel Youngkin. And in the middle was Quinton. Quinton was her child by a man named Henry Bubba Moss Jr. You'll hear that she'd had kind of a tumultuous relationship with Mr. Moss, that they had split before she even knew she was pregnant with Quinton, and that he initially didn't even believe that she was pregnant when she told him, and that he was never a part of Quinton's life at all. And I expect you'll hear some testimony about the way that background influenced the way that she treated Quinton. But you're supposed to love all your kids equally. You're supposed to treat them all the same. I expect you'll hear some testimony that didn't happen. That she treated Quinton differently, and not in a good way. Here's the house from the street. The master bedroom where defendant's mother, Billy Joe Howell, and her stepfather, Thomas Howell, lived is over here in the 2-story portion of the house, but on the first floor. Brother Paul Simon's bedroom is upstairs, and you'll hear in one of the defendant's interviews, she'll say, when you're up in that room, you can't really hear anything that's going on downstairs. It's kind of its own layer up there. Now, the defendant, Daniel, and the 3 children lived in a bedroom right through this front door. I think there was some sort of addition or something on the house at one point. This bedroom that they live in appears to be like a converted one-time living room or something like that. If you step through that front door, this is what you see. You see a couch in the foreground. You see a desk behind that. And then on the far wall there, you see a bed. That's the defendant and Daniel Youngkin's bed. If you pan to the right, you'll see a closet door here. And then it's hard to make out in this picture, but beyond this closet door is a door into a bathroom that then feeds into the dining room. And that is the only way to get from this room to the main body of the house. You see a race car bed there. That's where Zane slept. We further pan to the right. You can see that race car bed completely, and you see a projector on the wall, evidently for suppose for watching movies or something while you're sitting on the couch. And then if you pan into that right-hand corner, you see this pack and play. That's immediately to the right as you go in that front door. And that's where Quinton slept. That was Quinton's bed.
Okay, I don't have children, so this could be a dumb question. Obviously your child should never sleep in a pack and play other than if you're at someone's home and you take your pack and play with you and they fall asleep in it. You know what I mean? But a 20-month-old baby would be in a crib with like a mattress, right? Like where they can't get out, but it's got the bars. Surely wouldn't sleep every night in a pack and play. That can't be good on their backs or their little bodies, right? Because I just had a crib when I was growing up. crib mattress, everything. Yeah. Okay. So I'll just make sure I'm not I'm just making sure I don't have kids and I don't want to sound crazy, but
Now, that sort of
bad.
sets the scene as
Look at
to
that. And it's like, just, I don't know. It's just in the corner like that.
who's living in this house, and where they're sleeping. Before we come back to the morning of October 4th, I want to talk to you about what the evidence is going to show as far as what's the biggest thing going on in the defendant's life. And the biggest thing going on in her life in the months, days leading up to October 4th is the status of her relationship with Daniel Young.
Mm-hmm.
Things are not good. She is feeling unloved, undesired, ignored. And I'll show you a couple of text messages taken from her phone by the investigators
Ooh, what you
that
got
show
now?
this. Now, this is kind of small on here, and it's kind of bright, so I'll read it for you for those of you who can't see. Some of you may be able to read it, perhaps not all of you can. This is July of 2022. I want to feel beautiful, not barely average. I want to feel loved and not just liked. I want to feel wanted, not just tolerated. I want to be able to look at you and know it's just me, not wonder how many others there are. I want to feel like my body is worth showing off, not like it's just been trashed from having 3 kids. I want to feel the way you made me feel in the beginning, like I'm treasured and safe, not like I'm just here because you really don't have a choice. And you'll see quite a number of messages like this. It's basically an unbroken string of text messages all the way up to the day that she kills Quinton.
Ooh.
August 6th, yeah, go get yourself some ass. I know mine is not good enough. Never was, never will be. September 10th, you're the reason I'm angry every day. You're the reason I'm depressed, why I feel the way I do about myself.
Wow. She was getting pissed because she was getting ignored. And guys are good at ignoring girls. They are. They are good at that. But damn, you showed you're ugly.
Now, this is not a minor thing for her. I told you it's probably the biggest thing emotionally going on in her life. The way that she perceives herself to be being treated by Daniel, and perhaps to some degree actually was being treated by him. It's at least how she feels. This is such a big deal for her that with her phone, at one point she filmed something that can only be described as a digital suicide note. All right, she's in the car, and you'll hear her at the end say, I've got to go, I made it to the river. She's in her car, evidently contemplating driving her car into a river.
No, she wasn't. No, she wasn't. She made that video and recording and crap just so that somebody would hear it. They'd feel sorry for her. No, don't believe it.
In ending her life. And she starts out saying goodbye to her children. She has some kind words to say about Zane. She has some kind, loving words to say about Sky. You might perceive that she momentarily kind of seems to be at a loss for what exactly to say about Quinton, our victim, the middle child. And then she goes on to explain that the message is clearly addressed to Danny. She goes on to attribute what she's about to do to the way that Danny has treated her. Now, this is a 4-minute some video. It's a little long for an opening statement, but we're going to watch the whole thing. And we're going to watch the whole thing because it's an important window into her state of mind at this stage in time. This video was filmed in August of 2022, but the evidence in terms of the text messages and her statements will show that nothing really changed between when this video was filmed and in October 4th of 2022. So with that preview, I'll play this for you now.
To Sky, Zane, and Quinton. Mama tried. And Mama's not here no more because she doesn't want you. I do. I can't love myself.
She's high. I'm sorry. She's high as a kite right here. In my opinion. High as a kite. She's making she's supposed to be making a dying declaration, right, for her children, right? She wants her children to hear this. These are her final words to her children. A, she wouldn't be driving down the road doing it. B, she wouldn't have the rap music on in the background still playing, guys. She's still listening to the jams. She's still jamming. She's still, I'm like, with the music on, right? No, I don't believe you, Leilani, for a minute. Look, she even did the head nod because she couldn't. I'm gonna rewind that back because she didn't know she was wanting to rap out to the song or to talk about this.
Your mama's not here no more because she doesn't want you. I do. I can't love myself. If I can't love myself, how can I love you? I'm trying.
And put on the damn seatbelt. Like, I know we don't care because we're supposed to be all, committing nests out there. But put on the seatbelt. I'm sick. I hate that ding.
Over and over and over, and I failed. I screamed for help, and I don't get it.
Your mom's taking care of your kids. What do you mean? What do you mean?
Sky, you are such a beautiful little girl. I wish I could watch you grow up.
Pity party for Leilani Simon.
I wish I could hold you for your first heartbreak because my mama didn't.
Well, I ain't going to now.
Sky, I love you, baby girl. And Zane, you were so handsome, so sweet, so protective.
Wouldn't you, like, if you're, and this is me, if you're talking about your children, wouldn't you name them like in order? Like, not skip around? I don't know. That's just me.
You were going to be such a good man one day. Just a good man. I hope you grow up and you learn what loyalty is. And you learn how to treat a woman and how to love a woman. And Quinton.
Because we all know Daniel didn't know how to. That's what she's getting at.
Baby. You are a middle child. You're so happy all the time. You smile all the time. I wish I could see what kind of man you would be too. And Danny, I loved you. I loved you with all of me, all of my heart. I loved you. I wish that the crowd you walked on. When we found each other, we were both in such fragile states. And I built you back up. I would do anything for you. But there's this time that I was building you back up.
She's got a lot to say about Daniel. She didn't have this much to say about her other kids. Put them all three together. She didn't have this much to say.
You were doing things that would eventually tear me back down.
Unlimited data, Wi-Fi equipment included, and a free streaming box.
And even now, after everything that I think has been brought to light, hopefully it was everything, right? Even now, you look at me with the same look in your eyes that you have when you talk about Caitlin. I don't hear the love in your voice anymore. I don't feel the love in your touch anymore.
Leilani, it's a little too late for this advice, but I'm going to give it. If I was 20 years old or whatever, and there was a guy that was saying all the things that you're doing, like didn't want to be with me, didn't want to make love to me, didn't blah, 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 didn't make me feel beautiful, didn't want to be around me. You know what I would do? You know what I would have done if my mom was here? She'd tell you. I would have looked them dead in the eye. Don't care how long I've been with them. And I would have been like, bye-bye. See you later. Get to packing. I got things to do. Her, on the other hand, she's freaking out.
I wanted you. I wanted you. I wanted you more than life itself.
I bet you this accidentally got sent to his phone.
But you've proven that it was only one way. That feeling was only one way. That love, that loyalty, it was all one way.
Look how different
You
they
take
look.
care of my kids. Okay? You couldn't take care of me. You couldn't love me. You couldn't do me right. So please, for the love of fucking God, do my kids right. And the kids running out of the river.
Technically, he only has one with her, so
Now, finally.
I'm at the river now by Danny. So that's where she was at. This is her emotional state in the summer, fall of 2022. That brings us back to October 4th. And here I'll give you sort of an overview of what the evidence is going to show us to the sequence of events of that day. Now, the first thing to establish is that on the relevant dates here, Billy Joe Howell, the defendant's mother, and Thomas Howell, her stepdad, are out of town. They're not in town. They're not in the house. They are sort of out of play. I expect that will be undisputed. So that leaves in the house Paul, the defendant, Danny, and the three children, Zane, Quinton, and Scott. In the morning of October 4th, quite early in the morning, in fact, the defendant and Danny take the three children to babysitter Michelle McCardle and her two teenage daughters that live on the same street. They live like right across the street on Buckhalter. And it says babysitter up there, and I've called her the babysitter, but really you'll hear from Michelle, one of her daughters. And it comes across more like they're almost like a second family or a substitute family for these kids.
absolutely.
Of the parental shortcomings at 535 Buckhalter. So the evidence might show that babysitter kind of undersells it a little bit. And the child care arrangement was this. At this point in time, Danny and the defendant are working at a warehouse in Port Wentworth, unloading, loading boxes. They're carrying boxes at the warehouse in Port Wentworth. And their shift starts at 6 a.m. They're working the 6 a.m. shift. So early in the morning, on the way to work, they'll drop off the three children with Michelle, with her two teenage daughters. And so they do that. And they both go to work. They clock in at essentially the exact same time, a little after 6 a.m. on October 4th. Now they clock out less than 2 hours later. And the reason they do that is the defendant is experiencing some kind of dental issue. She has a tooth that's bothering her and it needs to come out. And so they clock out right around 8 o'clock, just before 8 o'clock in the morning. And they go to some type of like emergency dental clinic or walk-in dental clinic. And she gets a tooth pulled. These are some pictures, selfies she took of herself in the dentist chair. And you can see the side of her mouth, the left side there, I think is kind of swollen. She sent these to Daniel, Young, and Danny who was sitting out in the waiting room waiting for her. And so after this, they do not go back to work. They go home. And the rest of the waking hours of the day are pretty normal. They get some lunch. They relax. Her mouth is bothering her. She's tired. She's sore. And eventually at about 4:30 in the afternoon, they go and they pick up the 3 kids from the babysitter from the shelf, and they bring them home. So at that point, Danny, the defendant, and the 3 kids are in the house. Now, Paul, he worked at the same warehouse, but he worked a later shift, and you'll hear what it is. It's something like 2 p.m. to late at night, around 10 or so. That was Paul's shift. So same place, different shift. So he's not there in the afternoon. Now they're there. They do dinner. They do bath time. They put the kids down. Quinton in his pack and play. I think you'll hear testimony or a statement from the defendant that Sky, the infant, slept on that couch that we looked at, and Zane in Marie's car bed. And I think it'll be undisputed, and I expect that it'll be undisputed that, at around 10 p.m., Quinton is fine. He's just in his crib, in his pack and play for bedtime. Okay. And what happens at this point sets off a chain of events that goes over the next couple hours and results in tragedy. And that is that the defendant and Daniel have yet another argument about how he's treating her. This is sometime a little after 10 p.m. And that this is something she told to detectives eventually in some of her interviews about how he doesn't want her, he doesn't want to touch her, he's not feeling desire for her like he used to. We've already talked about this is a major trigger for her. This is the biggest emotional issue going on in her life, and it's significant. It drove her to the brink in the video that you've watched. This is not a minor thing for her. And so she leaves the house after 10 p.m. on the first of 2 trips that you'll hear a lot about in this trial, and that she didn't really want to talk about, at least truthfully, with investigators. And that first trip is to the drug dealer. She says that she left so that things wouldn't escalate between her and Danny. She was upset. That's her word. So it wouldn't escalate.
She wanted
The
rugs.
first place she goes is this Circle K. And I should have pointed out that you can see her getting out of the car. And that's at 10:29 p.m. So about 10:30. I'll back up and you can see her getting out of her Dodge Journey with a blanket wrapped around her shoulders. She's not in a good state. Anyway, 10:30, she goes into the Circle K. She buys a couple convenience store items. And then she texts Danny. He's got her saved in his phone as Lanny Baby. She texts him, I'm going to run to 204, I guess. That's at 10:32. Immediately after she leaves the Circle K. She might still be in the parking lot for all I know. And 204 is an area you'll hear about in this case. It's sort of it's shorthand for our drug dealer. I'm going to run to our drug dealer.
Figured.
This is Highway 204 is what this is a reference to. And their drug dealer lives on a street right off 204. So she's going to get drugs to try to make herself feel better.
That and she's addicted.
This is a screenshot of some GPS plots from her phone that the police eventually made after getting into her phone. You can see Highway 204 here. And this red kind of blob up here is a series of GPS points showing that she's at the drug dealer's house on Arkwright Lane from about 10:45 p.m. to 10:55. And she's scoring drugs to use that night because she doesn't like the way she's feeling. This is some information exported from her cell phone extraction showing that while she was there, at 10:49, she made an $80 Cash App payment to a Timothy Weston.
I thought she got some stuff, like some marijuana and some pills. $80 ain't gonna get you far. What'd she get?
Who is her drug dealer, at least one of them. While she's gone, Paul gets home. He had clocked out at 9:56 p.m. And I think he will say that he took him a minute to get home because he was smoking a blunt in the parking lot or something like that. You're going to hear a lot about drug use in this case. And he gets home while the defendant is still
Probably
out
just didn't smoke it on the drive home.
And he'll tell you that when he got home, he went in and said hey to Danny. And he saw the kids, he saw Quinton in his crib, in his pack and play. Quinton was fine. He even interacted with him a little bit. He'll tell you what it was. Hey, little man, how's it going? And he sees that Quinton is, hey, okay, he's fine. May not be completely asleep yet, but he's there, he's okay. Now, by 10 after 11, this is another GPS screenshot. It's hard to make out on this TV. But this is, by 10 after 11, she's got a bunch of GPS points hitting at the house on Buckhalter Road. And this is just to signify that this is when she gets, this is around when she gets home. 10 after 11. And so she's home at that point. Paul is upstairs in his bedroom, going to sleep, kind of secluded from the rest of the family. And Danny eventually goes to sleep as well. And you'll hear her say this to the investigators, that she was the only one up and active in the middle of the night, in the hours leading up towards 1 a.m. Danny is sleeping because he's going to get up and go to work in the morning. He has to get up at like sometime between 5 and 5:30 to go to work. And Paul is sleeping as well because he just got off work. He's tired. And you'll hear her say that I was the only one up and about. My tooth was hurting. I couldn't sleep. What she's doing is she's going on a bender. You'll hear her admit to this eventually with the police. She didn't want to talk about it initially, but you'll hear that she eventually acknowledged that she was up kind of frantically using drugs for an extended period of time while everybody else in the house is asleep and out of play. You'll hear her talk about it. I would hit a line. I would go outside. I would smoke a blunt to kind of bring myself down. Maybe smoke a cigarette. Then I'd hit another line and repeat the cycle.
Oh yeah, it was coke. It was the cocaine. It was. There is Leilani Simon. How are you? Can I have your connect? I'm totally kidding. I'm just trying to make a little joke. But she got cocaine, marijuana, and like Percocet. Now, for $80, where are you getting your stuff from, lady? Because that's a lot of rugs, different ones. You know what I mean? Even if you just put a little bit here, a little bit here, a little bit here. I mean, for $80.
So she's in her house by herself, physically uncomfortable because of her dental issue, emotionally wrecked because of what's going on with her and Danny, and it's resurfaced again this night. Although resurface is probably not the way to put it because it's just an ever-present problem for her. And this is a bad situation, right? This is a volatile, dangerous situation. And that's because you'll hear something that she later said during the investigation on a recorded call, on a recorded phone call to Daniel, who was cooperating with the police and trying to help them gain information about the effect that cocaine has on her. It's not just fun for her. You'll hear her say that it makes her angry and impulsive.
Oh, man, that's so great. 13 years. Yeah. Every time I'm angry and impulsive when I'm like,
And so those are the conditions. She's up all alone, physically uncomfortable, emotionally unhappy, unstable to some degree. And around 1 a.m. probably, she kills Quinton. Now I'm going to focus on the what she did and when things happened. And probably in closing argument when all the evidence is in, we'll talk to you a little bit more about the why. Why exactly in that moment did she do this? But for now, I want you to just understand the sequence of events and what happened when. She takes his body and puts it in Dodge Journey, Georgia tag TEN 9300. And she begins the cover-up. The cover-up is not just the lies to the police. The cover-up starts immediately. A little after 1 a.m., she drives down Buckhalter Road, which turns to the right here, but it's still Buckhalter Road at that turn. And comes into Ogeechee Road right here. And she pulls into this mobile home plaza. It's right here. Mostly what you're seeing is trees, but there are mobile homes in here. This is Azalea Mobile Home Plaza. And there's a convenient stand-up dumpster sort of hidden away under some tree cover in the tree line there. And she throws Quinton's body away like a piece of trash at about 1:17 in the morning. She drives home. This is another export from her phone, showing that her phone was locked from 2:01 in the morning until 9:13 in the morning. And this is just kind of a shorthand way of saying that's roughly about the time she eventually goes to sleep.
Yeah.
And her phone is inactive. Now Danny wakes up for work a little after 5, and he tries to wake her up to go to work. She's supposed to go to work with him. Remember, they work the same shift. She's been up all night doing drugs, and he's been, responsibly sleeping, so he's able to get up for work. And he cannot wake her up. She will not wake up. And at this point, he's trying to get out of the house to go to work. And he believes that all 3 children are there. He does not go over and check the packet plate. He doesn't even know that Quinton is gone. You saw in those pictures.
But hold up a damn minute. I remember Daniel Youngkin saying that he saw Quinton Simon the day that I'm confused because I know that he said that. I know you, Daniel. I know Daniel said that.
The packet plate is all the way across the room in the far corner. It's not right next to the closet. It's not right next to the bathroom. He can't wake her up to go to work, and he's annoyed by this because this is,
So he can't wake her up, but he doesn't mean he doesn't go check on the other kids before he leaves for work.
he may tell you it's not the first time this has happened. And they are kind of tight on money. They are trying to make money to either put a down payment on a house or a security deposit in an apartment, so they don't have to live with their mom anymore.
They have a habit.
And he'll tell you that he was frustrated by this. You're not going to get up and come to work and make money. And his decision at this time was to say, well, okay, you're not going to come to work and make money. We're not going to spend money on a babysitter today. Because they have to pay, they pay her every day in Michelle. And so he texts Michelle, hey, the kids are going to stay here with her today, Miss Michelle, at 5:20 in the morning.
That makes sense.
She says, okay. And the reason for that is his thought is, look, if you're not going to get up and make money, you can stay here and watch the kids. Wake up and find these kids are still here. You can deal with them. They're yours. So he goes to work, and he clocks in, at 6:11, 6 a.m., 6:11 a.m. And he will clock out at 9:15, a little over 3 hours later. And the reason that he clocks out at 9:15 is that at 9:14, 1 minute before the clock out, he gets a call from the defendant who's got him saved in her phone as King. And he's got the 910 area code. That's North Carolina, where he's from. Now, this is a 21-minute call. And she calls in, and the cover-up, initially I said, the cover-up starts with covering this up to him. Before the police ever, she covered it up to the police, but before they ever even get involved, she's covering it up to Danny. She calls him and she tells him that she woke up, the front door was open, and Quinton was gone. And he would run out to his car, leave work, and come home, and stay on the line with her for 21 minutes. Police went to the warehouse that they work at, and they got some video footage to see, well, what did Danny look like when he was leaving the house, leaving work, having gotten this call. And this video shows him running out. That's Danny running out of work.
Wow.
You'll hear from his boss,
That looked like it was sped up. He's a fast runner.
a fellow named David Mullins, that David ran into Danny in the parking lot. Danny's running out. Dave is just pulling in and getting to work. And they briefly encounter one another. And Dave will tell you, he looked genuinely upset. He was for real crying, tears coming down his face. Danny does not know what is going on. He knows what he's hearing from the defendant, and that's it. So he rushes home. And I'll tell you this. I told you the call to Danny was at 9:14. As he's on the way home, on this call with the defendant where she's telling him she woke up and the front door was open, these are ADT records. There's an ADT security system on this house.
Yep, there sure are.
And it keeps track of when each door was open and closed, or just opened, or just closed, having been opened. Police got these records. And you'll see that front door didn't open until 9:22 in the morning on October 5th. Now that's 6 minutes in, 6 or 8 minutes in to that call with Danny. And so what the evidence is going to show that she's on the phone with him saying, I woke up and the front door was open and Quinton was gone. And it's during that phone call that she's opening the front door. So you'll hear that she's essentially tampering with evidence, tampering with the scene, staging the scene to fit with her story before the police ever become involved. Danny gets home. Somehow babysitter Michelle got wind that this was going on. Maybe she heard screaming or something. She'll tell you how she heard about this when she testifies. She comes over. Paul hears yelling, comes downstairs, and now everybody's there and they're looking for Quinton. And the defendant, of course, is the only person who knows where he actually is, and that's in a dumpster at Azalea Mobile Home Plaza. And they call 911, and here's what the defendant says. Police show up a little before 10 a.m. and she repeats the same story to them. The evidence will show that car that's like the furthest one, the most recent one that entered the driveway, is the babysitter's, Michelle's. She had pulled up and parked her white Pathfinder there. But in any case, the defendant repeats that story to the responding officers, and you'll hear from some of them.
I woke up about 10 o'clock. My husband was worried about 6, so within a 3-hour period, somehow the front door is unlocked and my son is not in his blanket.
Now, This is a missing child. So situations like this, it's all hands on deck. Everybody comes out. Forensics comes out. Like the forensics unit came out, had a drone up looking for Quinton. Patrol officers are being pulled from other beats, other areas of patrol, to canvass the area and look for Quinton in the woods. All sorts of people are coming. Most of the command staff for the Chatham County Police Department showed up because this is a big deal. They take these things very seriously. One of the specialized units that responded after patrol officers had gotten there was the detectives for the Chatham County Police Department, CID, Criminal Investigations Division. And the first detective there for CID is a guy you'll hear from, Sean Wilkins. Sean Wilkins shows up, and he's the one who conducts the first, what you call more like the first formal interview with the defendant. And most notable from that statement that he takes from her at this time is when she says she went to bed and when she says she got up. And you'll hear that she tells him, I went to bed around midnight and I got up around 9. She doesn't say anything at all about this trip to Azalea Mobile Home Plaza a little after 1 a.m. She doesn't want to talk about that because that's the trip that she took to get rid of Quinton's body. So here's her telling Wilkins, I went to bed around midnight and I got up around 9 a.m.
When's the last time you saw your child?
When I went to bed last night.
And what time was that? Do you remember?
Around 12.
12? Okay.
12 when I went to bed. I had my wisdom teeth removed yesterday.
I'm sorry, that's
So I went to bed kind of late.
I get you. Listen, I had it on too.
So I got up this morning about 9.
About 9?
And my front door is open, so I went up and I shut it, not thinking about anything like that. And I look over and check my kids, and he was going. All the rest were there. He was going.
It's all right. It's all right.
Went to bed at midnight, woke up around 9. No mention of the Azalea trip. I told you there were 2 trips, 2:04 earlier in the night, 10:11. Trip number 2 is that Azalea trip, a little after 1 a.m. And she is totally omitting that. Now, all hands on deck, right? Missing child. There are detectives working on this case that aren't even out of the scene from the very beginning. One of them is a Chatham County Police detective you'll hear from named Kiana Robbins. Kiana Robbins is at the Islands Precinct, I think is where she was on Johnny Mercer, like not anywhere close to here. But she's in her office, she's sitting at her computer and she's researching. She's seeing if she can find some helpful information. This is a stock photo of what's called a flock camera. The flock system is a series of cameras that are set up around town at major intersections or along busy roads. And what they do is they snap a picture of the license plates of all the cars that drive by. And police can use these for a number of different things. One of the things they can use them for is, say you have somebody who flees from a traffic stop and actually gets away. The police can't pursue them without undue danger. They can take that tag number of that individual, they can put it in the flock system and put like a lookout out for them. If that tag hits on any other cameras, it'll alert the police and they can try again and make the traffic stop. Another thing that the police can do, and what Detective Robbins did, was look up vehicles registered to the defendant. She finds that Dodge Journey that the defendant drove to dispose of Quinton's body. And she puts it into the flock system, looks it up in the database to see what, if any, flock cameras that vehicle has hit on anytime recently. And she sees that car has been out late at night, driving around on trips that the defendant hasn't mentioned yet. She radios that information or maybe calls via phone. This is the tag she looks up. That's the Dodge Journey in the driveway at the time of the police response. She calls Lieutenant Foster, who you'll hear from. This is after the defendant has told Wilkins that she went to bed at midnight and woke up at 9. Hasn't mentioned anything about the Orangeville trip or the Azalea trip. Foster goes up to her. He now has this information that this tag has been hidden on some flock cameras and seems to have been driving around during the night. And he goes up to her, and he's a lieutenant at this point, which is like kind of a managerial type position. He's, by this time, is the senior man on scene, I believe. But he has background in investigations. He was with the Savannah Police Department, I think, at one point, in their violent crimes unit, investigating homicide. So he knows his way around an investigation. He knows how to do these sort of things. He goes up to her armed with this information about the flock hits that night. He wants to know what these trips were about. So he goes up to her and he asks her, "Hey, did you go anywhere last night?" And he's a savvy guy, so he's careful to tack on, like where the kidnapper could have followed you home. And she seems to know, the evidence will show that she seems to know that he knows something about this trip to Azalea that she took and has not mentioned to this point. And so she comes up with a story. It's not totally clear when she came up with it. But the story is that, that trip that I took away from my house shortly after 1 a.m., that was to go pick up Oragel from a friend at the Chevron. Now, the Chevron is right next to Azalea Mobile Home Plaza. They're kind of right next to each other. And so that's her story as to what she was doing, driving to that location at that time. My tooth was bothering me. I didn't have any Oragel. I went to pick some up and got some from a friend. This is the first appearance of the Oragel story, which lasts for about a week or so, maybe a week and a half.
Did y'all go anywhere last night or yesterday with Faith that maybe he could have followed you or something? Y'all didn't go anywhere? Just you made you yourself.
Yeah, I know. I took a twofold yesterday, so you imagine I went to this Orville, and that was it.
2 o'clock yesterday.
No, like Marvin Wise, and I couldn't go to sleep.
Okay, so where did you
Oh,
go?
damn, I didn't even know I was on mute. I was going off on the mute too. I never mute myself. That's the problem. I need to start muting myself. No, I was just saying that they would have given her hydrocodone or they would have given her Tylenol 3s. She says here that she left at 2 a.m. to go to the Chevron station because her tooth hurt her. Okay. She just got her tooth extracted out of her mouth that day. She would have had no more pain. She would have been in zero pain other than a little tenderness from where the tooth was extracted. Not a big deal. They usually will give you hydrocodone or Tylenol 3 or something if you ask for it. Myself, I don't ask for it. I never get anything. They never give me nothing. They're like, you could just be cool with Advil, right? And I'm always like, yeah, you know me. I mean, I don't know. I'm one of those people. I just, but they'll usually give you, yeah, like a decent amount of medication to get you through the next couple of days of being sore. So going to get Orajel for a tooth that's been extracted, that is the dumbest thing ever. That would be like me going to get Orajel because my gum is bothering me. Like I come on, Leilani. And sorry about me being muted again. I did that the other night too.
Did you go anywhere else? Have you made an event home? So when did you get home?
What are you gonna do?
25?
So I'll talk for literally 12 minutes.
12 minutes.
All right, so that's the story about what I was doing when I drove there. Now, I'll tell you this. She's trying to show them on her phone this trip on an app called Life 360. Life 360 kind of generally tracks your movements. You can join with your family, and they can see where you are and have been, and vice versa. You may be wondering, well, look, if this trip was so simple.
My last 2 teeth, like I've had like all the way to the back, like I swear they were wisdom teeth, but they said they weren't. But there's like hardly any room for them. 1, I think 2 in the back. Yeah, and they never gotten anything.
Sinister in nature, why is she trying to show it to him on her phone? And you'll hear testimony that the reason that she was comfortable holding out her phone as corroboration for this trip to the Chevron is that, again, the Chevron and
right
the
beside it.
mobile home closet are right next to each other. And looking at the screen, you can't necessarily tell which one she's at. You can only tell that she's in the general area. So she believes that this kind of helps prove that I'm telling the truth about being at the Chevron. Now, the police would later pull very precise GPS data from the phone, like not just looking at the screen, but from the actual phone, that puts her not at the Chevron, but right at the dumpsters at Azalea, which are, I don't know, maybe 100 yards, 75 yards from the Chevron. But that's why she's holding the Life 360 out and saying, look, this helps me. So that's the first appearance of the Orajel story, to explain the Azalea trip. The police take all 3 of the adults in the house. Eventually they say, we really need you to get Danny, Paul, and the defendant to the police station, sit them down for formal interviews, and just get like a complete sequence of the day from all 3 of these people. And the first interview with the defendant takes place in something that they call the lactation room or the nursing room. I think you sometimes also hear these things referred to as mothering rooms. And the reason for that is that Danny was in this single interview room that they have with the cameras wired up in the corners and all that. And this video is recorded on Detective Marion Lemon's phone. Now, by this time, this is a joint federal and local investigation. The FBI has shown up because they get involved in kidnappings, abduction cases. And what happens at headquarters is that they pair off teamwork. One FBI agent, one detective, and they each in a pair interview each of these people. And so Detective Lemons is paired up with Special Agent Brad Snyder, whom you'll hear from. And they were kind of partners throughout this investigation. And
These are the 2 detectives that she lied to.
it's very open-ended at the beginning. What they're asking for is just give us an account of your day. Give us an account of the last 24 hours. Where have you been? What have you done? And so you'll hear Snyder asking them this. The video is really nothing special. I think it's just ceiling tiles the entire time because the phone is sitting on a table. But the audio is good. You can hear it. And she starts with, we left the dentist and came home. So she does start at the beginning.
So right now, again, we're sorry for everything. I mean, we can't imagine the emotions that you're feeling right now. 24 hours. So we'll talk 24 hours will be this time yesterday. So from about 1 o'clock yesterday. That's what the time of year.
So that's the start. I was leaving the dentist, getting my wisdom tooth pulled. And the end is the Oragel story, the Chevron Oragel story that she has as her last trip of the night. And she omitted that to Wilkins, is now had to come up with a story to cover this trip.
Look, that was really bothering me about almost 1 in the morning. I called Circle K to see if they had Oragel. No. So I got to call them with another one of my friends named Misty that I used to work with. She has a lot of mouth problems. And I'm sure she had any Oragel. Met her up at Chevron. And I called her and got back home. No, so 12 minutes. I got it for like 360. I can show y'all right around everything was on the little bills on your back. Get home, and my mouth, check all the kids again, they were okay.
Now, a couple things about this initial interview in which she's asked to give an account of her movements for like the last 24 hours. No mention whatsoever of the trip to the drug dealer. She doesn't want to talk about what she was doing that night in the state that it put her in. So that's omitted completely from this interview. And now she's put a name to the friend who gave her the Oragel.
This is like
Misty is what she.
It's like Zanny the nanny, isn't it? Friggin' Anthony trial. Casey Anthony.
Now I'll tell you before we move on from that, I'll tell you this: the police asked her to go through her phone, and of course she's playing, the victim. I'm the victim, the mother victim of a child abduction. So she probably feels some pressure to cooperate. And so she lets him go through her phone. A couple things they see is there's no call to Misty, and there's no call to Circle K to check and see if they have Oragel, which is something she said. First, I called Circle K to check and see whether they had Oragel. They didn't, so then I called Misty. None of that in there at all. They also see a message from the defendant to Danny. We looked at this earlier. This is when she's leaving the Circle K and is about to go to the drug dealer at 10:30. Going to run to 204, I guess. This is something that she had left out in this initial interview with Snyder and Lemons. So they interview her again, and this time it's in the interview room. And they want to ask her, what's the deal with this 204 thing? Here's what she tells them. Oh, yeah, that was a trip to the drug dealer, but it wasn't actually to buy drugs. She tells them that the reason that she left the house at 10:30 at night and went to her drug dealer,
it wasn't to buy it,
10 minutes, was simply to pay off a pre-existing drug debt in the amount of $20.
$20. You know you're going to get more rugs.
Now, the evidence will show that that story is just absurd on its face. But in addition to that, the cash out was for $80, not $20. And she'll later admit that this story wasn't true. But here she is launching it.
Yeah, and I was already heading back by
Yeah, and there's Cash App. You ain't even got to be around the person to give the money to him.
the time that.
So at 10:40, you texted them that you were turning on 204 to go meet with?
Yeah, like I'm turning on 204 now, like I'm about to meet him. That's what I was trying to tell him.
And at that point, you didn't get anything.
No, I just paid him $20. I gave him $20 and I left. It was a couple days ago.
She's paying off a $20 debt, not actually buying drugs. Because after all, she tells them, other than marijuana, I don't use drugs.
See, you didn't get a Percocet.
No. I see what $20. And even if I didn't want to get a Percocet, like $35. Last time I asked him.
Look at her legs living under that desk.
I
was.
I don't even look like that. Like anything, anybody got to worry about anything with this on me. I was everything else. I was there. I was sure. I see I was covered in this. So anything that's not homegrown or by the community center, I don't want. When I'm homegrown, I don't need to cook those stuff when you're going out.
she laughing or
Very strong,
Being
detailed
weird.
denial of the use of any drugs other than marijuana. And the reason they're asking her whether she got a Percocet from the drug dealer that night is that they had seen some messages about buying Percocets as well when they went through her phone. And they asked her about that. What about these text messages with you? Look like you're buying Percocet, using Percocet. And her story at this time is, oh, those are for a friend. I'm just the
how many Percocets you going to get with $80? And then you got to buy the weed and the cocaine. He's got to break down. He's got to break this down to me because the math ain't mathing over here.
middleman for my friend Cheyenne, who likes Percocets but doesn't, I guess, know a dealer herself.
Things that you just have to answer for, so we have to get a better understanding as to, what went on. We gave us authorization to look at the text messages. There's text messages in there unless you purchase them and post them. As recently as within the past 24 to 48 hours. Just relying on that data, or you totally understand that.
So
Or your motions.
sometimes when you ask me if I've done, I haven't done recently. I do have a friend named Cheyenne.
There's another name.
She will call me from time to time. If I see a call log, she will help me ask me for a register whenever if I can get it. And I'm waiting for it. I drop it off. Whatever work they drop off, they should help me up. So, but we haven't been messing with the Percocets.
She does not want
He just said you purchased them in the last 24 to 48 hours.
to talk about her drug use that night because that contributed directly to the state of mind that she was in and relates so closely to her killing Quinton in the middle of the night. So she feels that she has to tell these lines. And she wants to focus on 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. because after all, this is an abduction. It's not as though I did anything in the middle of the night. My child was taken after Danny left for work. That's her story. That's what she's trying to sell. And again, she forcefully denies this.
No, I did not. I did not take a Percocet right now. I will piss and for you right now.
Oh, I love it when they say that.
Now, police follow up. Okay, October 5th, they get statements from the defendant, where she's making all these claims that we've talked about. You get a statement from Paul, they get a statement from Danny. And what you do, and this goes late into the night, eventually it's kind of time to stop on October 5th and wake up in the morning and follow up on some of this stuff. So she has said that she was at the Chevron getting Orajel from Misty, her former coworker. And so they go out and there are two real notable things that happened between the October 5th statements on day one and the next interview. And one is that they do what they call a video canvas. They go out to this Chevron area where she has said that this Orajel exchange happened. And they look around and they see if they see any cameras. They go in and they ask if there's footage. And they get footage from the Chevron. And it does not show her stopping there. In fact, it shows her driving by. And they get footage from Azalea next door. And this is a major break in the case because what the Azalea footage shows is her pulling in, doing a loop around the complex, and pulling up to the dumpsters and sitting there for about 2 minutes.
There's a plane
And
overhead.
she throws Quinton's body away. So you're going to hear in detail about the footage from Azalea, different cameras and camera angles and what you could see on which one. But this is just a sample of that. And this is her driving in the Dodge Journey after 1 a.m. on a mission to throw away her dead child.
So yeah, he was dead whenever she threw him in there.
So that's one notable item of follow-up that leads into the next interview. The other is that they go talk to Melissa Missy Bray. Defendant's calling her Misty on the first night. She doesn't even get her name right. But she describes her as a former coworker from Bojangles. So Special Agent Snyder goes out to Bojangles, asks, whether he
Hey,
can
Missy.
direct him to this
Hey, Missy, you the one with the good Orjo?
person. They do. He goes out and he interviews her. And he asks her when the last time that she saw the defendant was. And she tells him, I haven't seen her for months. The last time that I saw her was when she ran it. It was like in July of 2022, months before what we're talking about. The defendant had run out of gas near Missy's house, had walked to Missy's house, and had borrowed a gas can. And their last contact was Missy texting her a few times, saying, hey, can I get that gas can back? And that was it. And that was months before. And Special Agent Snyder looked at these messages and they corroborate what Missy is telling. So, Chevron story, the met Missy at Chevron story is now just completely torpedoed. And so they bring her in for another interview on October 8th. And this one is with an FBI agent named Bridget Brock. And it's conducted at the FBI office in Savannah. And they confront her with these two findings. One, the security footage from Azalea and from Chevron. And two, what Missy has told them. And she just sticks to the Orjo story and just insists that it is true. And this is what that sounded like. She just hasn't had time yet to figure out how she's going to play this with this new information that they're presenting her with.
We'll talk about that, okay? Because Missy hadn't talked to you.
Yeah, she has.
She hasn't talked to you in quite some time.
Yeah, she
Yes,
has.
she did not have a conversation with you about the origin.
Yes.
So in your mind, you've looked at all these timestamps and possibly you came up with a story that's partly true.
No, that is true.
But there's very, very many missing pieces, right? And in your story, you haven't been completely honest about where you were at and why you were there.
I was 100% honest about where I was at. I showed the life 360. I told my even gave her the Orjo that she gave me.
Right, and that didn't happen. We've already interviewed this.
That I got the Orjo. That did happen. She had that moment inside of her mouth. That's the reason why I asked her for it.
You have to stop saying this. It did not happen.
Yes, it did.
Shit, what?
So that's the story on October 8th. Sticking to her guns. Now, October 12th, she comes in for another interview. And this is with Brad Snyder, who I've talked about already, who you've heard a little bit from and seen a little bit of, and an FBI agent named Savannah Solomon that he works with closely. And this is at the FBI office. And this is a long interview. I've pared it down a little bit so we don't have to spend 3 hours watching it during the trial, but it's still fairly long. And initially, at least, she's sticking to the Orjo story. That's Savannah Solomon on the left, Snyder on the right, and the defendant in the middle.
And I did. I did.
I did meet Misty, 100%. It happened. I'm telling you. And she tells this kind of flowery story describing this meeting. She lavishes them with details about how this went down.
So you went to Missy's house, and did you go inside her house? She was just standing outside. How long did y'all interact here with Missy? How long did y'all?
2-3 minutes. It was a quick little conversation. Everyone else in her mouth doing this one. She does some crack and stuff. She did.
Now she has Misty was smoking crack. which she-
Wow.
which she gave.
Misty was smoking the crack now.
And what is going on here?
She's just there to pick up Orajel from her friend Misty Missy is her name, that smokes crack. My good golly. I'm just going to do the nightly recaps. I think Nash Native. When I got on today, like 15 people were streaming all of a sudden. I was like, where were your thumbnails last night? I didn't see any of these. So I just decided to do the nightly recaps.
Here
And
is
we're doing opening statements tonight because I knew those would be good.
when the defendant is lying and telling
On the
a story
prosecution side, anyway.
to cover something up that she did.
Objection, Your Honor, at this point in time, this is opening statements. Mr. Dean has the right to say what he expects the evidence to show, not his interpretation of it. So,
Sustained. Dean, I'm gonna ask you to move forward.
The evidence will show that she added this detail to suggest a faulty memory on Misty's part, to suggest that, maybe this will help explain why Misty is telling them she hadn't seen me. And it is nothing to her to just accuse Missy of having smoked crack during this meeting that didn't happen. But in any case, a few minutes later, she finally admits that she didn't see Missy.
She's got to understand, she doesn't have to be 100% truthful. 100%. That's the only way that we're going to get the document. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Because
It's a lot of knowledge.
did you do any work last night?
I did do it the other night. I found it in the car was one time.
But I found it in the car. It was one of the ones I had lost.
Lost. I found when I got back to the house.
Liar.
So after insisting on the 5th that she met Misty at the Chevron for Orangeville, and after insisting on the 8th that was the truth, and after insisting even at the outset of this interview that it was true, she finally admits that it wasn't true and massages the inconsistency by saying, I didn't speak to her, but I did go there with the intent of seeing her. And she adds a detail that hasn't been included in any of her stories today. Oh, and by the way, you've asked me if I threw any trash away there. Yeah, I did throw some trash away. She has a story for what that trash was. The evidence will show she did not want to admit
Listen to
that it
this.
was Quinton's body.
Wasn't Quinton's body she threw away, right? Listen to what she says it was.
So she describes this trash that she threw away as stinky shrimp pasta that had been sitting in the car in a trash bag and smelling up the car.
So at 1 a.m, you decide you're going to go take your car and go throw it away?
Shrimp pasta. Yeah. The whole car's like shrimp. Yeah, that was just added there. So, what is that smell? I felt like before I even went to go to a floor. I didn't go there. I'm like, get out of the car.
And they ask her about this. Gosh, this is the most critical fact in the case. Throwing Quinton's body in the dumpster at Azalea, what she was doing at Azalea Mobile Home Plaza at 1:17 in the morning or so. And her explanation for that is, it's just such a minor thing, throwing away some trash, that I didn't think to mention it in my hours of previous interviews.
I don't stop. That was the only stop that I didn't think anything of, to be honest. It's just, I'm food, I'm in the car. See an opportunity to get help.
She does not want to talk about what was in
An
that trash.
opportunity. They
They also revisit the drug use, and you'll remember the strong denials
She said, I didn't take no Percocet. Now she's going to change that too.
on October 5th, which are repeated on October 8th. On this October 12th interview, she admits finally that, I did take a Percocet that night.
I know I used to work at a seafood restaurant. Oh my gosh. Oh, it was the worst.
By the time I got home, I took it like 11 or something, or whatever.
And so Snyder asked her about her changing story. You've been adamant that you met Misty for Oragel, and now you're finally admitting to us, I actually didn't speak to her. You've initially, over the course of 2 interviews, maybe more, didn't mention throwing trash away. And now you've got a very detailed account about doing that and what it was. And you, on the 5th, were adamant that you hadn't used any drugs other than marijuana. And now you're telling us that you did take a Percocet too. What's going on?
Okay. A Percocet or 2. $20, $30, $20. Okay. So $20 we'll say. That's $60 that she has left for the cocaine and the marijuana. Because she got a lot of stuff. I don't know. I mean, I'm just curious to know the numbers at this person's place. If they have like a menu that we could get, like a little drive-up menu. Because she went with $80 and she's getting all this stuff. He must be a broke rug dealer.
Why is the story changing? And her explanation for that is, my faulty memory might have something to do with all the cocaine I was doing that night, which is a drug that had totally been absent from all of her prior accounts and fits much more with the $80 cash app than the story about paying off the drug front. And so she is explaining her inconsistent stories by adding another inconsistency, which is an admission to cocaine use.
Juror has requested a short break. Yeah, that makes sense. Let's take a 10-minute break and
They ended up taking like a 15-minute break because, they needed it. Hey, Sharon. Perfect timing. I just paused it because we're going to skip through this little 15-minute break that they do. But basically, this is the opening statement for the state. And he's, in my opinion, doing a fantastic job laying out all the characters. Like, her mom, her mom's husband, her brother, where they were all located in the home in proximity to where she was actually staying with Quinton and Daniel. Now, before I kind of had an idea of where people were staying, but not like this. This was like, I don't know. The way that he explained it he explained it well. Like, she could have been doing all kinds of stuff and they wouldn't have known about it because that door, unless they checked the alarm, but that door goes right into her bedroom. And it's on the other side of the house from everybody. Okay, where are they? Go back. I think it's like 30 something actually. Oh, there it is. Okay. So I like this judge. I really do. She's very serious.
counsel for the state, along with Detective Lemons, are at their table. We haven't yet brought the jurors back in. Is there anything that we need to take up before we bring the jurors back in?
No, Your Honor, I'm ready to continue.
Not from the defense yet.
All right, let's proceed.
We'll put it on here since they're going to be sitting there for a minute.
Jury's entering.
Wonder who bought her, brought her clothes, to wear. Because I'm just thinking here. I'm just personally thinking here. Karen Reed, like she dresses very well. She got the memo, right? Like she's like, if I'm going to prison for the rest of my life, I'm going to dress nice till I get there. That would be me. That'd be what I would want to do, is what I'm saying. Thank you, Brandywine, for becoming a new member. Thank you. I don't even know. I don't even know at this point. But I think that I would be like, Ma, you better be putting me in something like flashy or something. I don't know. It's the last time she's gonna wear street clothes for the rest of her life. What are you writing? Why can't she just talk to her lawyer? He's right there.
And so for the record, the jurors are all back. They are being seated at this time. All right, all 16. Thank you. And Mr. Dean will resume with his opening statement.
So, October 12th, and we've come a long way from the October 5th account of only using marijuana that night. This is where we end up on October 12th.
So just before you take the trash, looking a little upset.
And in this interview, she acknowledges that this wasn't like the one night she used cocaine. She's a regular user of cocaine, which she had denied in earlier interviews. Now, at the end of the day, the most critical thing though is what happened to Quinton. What happened to Quinton in the middle of the night? And here is what she had to say about that.
If I did something to him, I'll take my responsibility. Whatever he got fired, I would take my responsibility, but I'm okay with God. And y'all come home to my heart and cross my arms. That's what I want.
Right then and there, yeah. I mean, if your child is alive or dead.
I don't know if I did something to him, but if I did, I will take responsibility.
Just like she is right now?
She appears to be claiming something like a lack of memory. And I'll tell you that the evidence that you'll see is going to show that when she drove to those dumpsters at Azalea to throw Quinton's body away, you can see that she's driving normally. You'll see that she comes to a complete stop at stop signs. She uses her turn signal. You'll hear evidence that the investigators could tell from her phone that she plugged her phone into the USB charger in the car when she got in. So the evidence will show that she was aware of what she was doing when she took him there, and that her claims to just not know what happened cannot be true. They do not fit with the other evidence. We've talked a lot about what she has been saying to the police and the FBI on the 5th, on the 8th, on the 12th. But we haven't talked much about the other aspect of the investigation, which is the effort to find Quinton and to figure out exactly what happened to him. So I'll talk a little bit about that now. Now, on October 18th, police announced that they believe Quinton's body to be in a local landfill, and that they're about to begin this extremely challenging needle in a haystack search of the landfill. And this is how they got there. A detective with the Chatham County Police Department goes out to the mobile home plaza once these dumpsters become an area of interest after they've looked at the security footage. And he asks what garbage truck company services these dumpsters, and they give him that information. He gets in touch with that garbage truck company, and he learns that it was truck 309 from 3909, I should say, from a company called Waste Pro. This is the list of stops for that truck on that day. serviced the mobile home plaza. This is on the morning of October 5th, actually. Quinton wasn't in the dumpster for very long because it was emptied that day. And this, what I'll tell you next, kind of goes to explain Quinton's condition. They ultimately found him not in an intact body, but in pieces, little pieces, bones. It's a front-loading garbage truck. Extends its hydraulic forks into the slots on the side of the dumpster and drops Quinton and all the other garbage into the box in the back of the truck. There's a compactor in that truck that compacts everything. You want that compactor in there so that the truck doesn't have to go to the landfill as frequently. Makes the garbage smaller and take more garbage. That truck went to the Waste Management Superior Landfill on Little Neck Road on the morning of October 5th. This is a landfill ticket. They weigh the truck.
So they said that she hit her son with a blunt object, though, causing his death. How do they know it wasn't from the compactor? And that's why I'm assuming his little body might have been in different areas because the bones would have been broken.
Trucks when they're coming in, that's how they know how much to charge the garbage truck company for this particular load. This is for Waste Pro Truck, 3909. And with this information, the detectives go out and they talk to the landfill manager, and he's able to identify the area that garbage was being dumped and then kind of shoved to on October 5th, and this kind of general area up here, that becomes the search area. So they have kind of an idea of like a general box in the landfill of where Quinton is going to be found. But this is still an extremely difficult thing. Even if you know the general area, there's like 2 more days of trash that have since been dumped there since the 5th. And this stuff gets compacted and moved around. They drive these compactors over it that have studded metal rollers, and everything just gets shredded. You may have this idea that you go into a landfill and it's just like a pile of bags of trash, just like they were when you put them in your garbage can at home. It is not like that. You will see that it is not like that. Everything is shredded because compaction is the name of the game in landfills. You will hear that. You got to get everything pressed down real tight because space is money. So at the end of the day, they have tons and tons of garbage to search through. And so they arrange the landfill search. They have some consultants from an outside agency come in and advise on this because it's a very technical thing. These consultants are able to tell them, based on the size of the box, about how many tons of trash they'll have to search
1.2 million.
to exhaust the area, based on known rates of searching, like pounds per day. They're able to give them an estimate of how many people this is going to take and how much time it's going to take. They have to order specialized protective gear, steel-toed boots, Tyvek suits, respirators, gloves to put over the gloves. This is a biohazard environment. And they have to find volunteers, and this is an all-volunteer duty. All right, and for weeks, volunteers from the police department and from some other law enforcement agencies came out here early in the morning, and they do this landfill search that involves an excavator up in the search area, scooping up garbage, putting it in a dump truck. Dump truck comes down on this open area bounded by cones that they call the search deck. Excavator down here kind of spreads the garbage, that particular load, I think they were calling them lines, out onto the search deck. And the law enforcement officers, these volunteers, get online with rakes, and they just search through it. This is what that looks like. And they do this for days, weeks, in the heat, all that gear on. That's why I said earlier, these efforts can only be described.
They went for like, I want to say 9 days straight, 18 hours a day. and they were going to take the weekend off, and people were having a fit about it. And it wasn't even that they were taking the weekend off. It was other people were coming in. It just wasn't going to be as like coordinated like this. Do you know what I mean? It was more of them like probably like bringing the trash down or something, getting it ready. That way they could rest. I mean, these people had to rest. They ended up combing through altogether 1.2 million pounds of trash. I don't even know how much trash that is. That's so much trash.
Drive this heroic. They want to find Quinton. The evidence will show that these things are not typically successful. There's a very low success rate with these landfill searches because, again, it's a needle in a haystack proposition. But that's what the police are doing while she is playing games with investigators and changing her story and changing her story again. October 24th, while the landfill search is underway and those volunteers are suffering in the heat out there, not knowing whether the next rape is going to bring more tedium and boredom or if it's going to bring the horror of what they're actually looking for. The defendant is still playing games. Having already admitted that she went to Azalea and threw away trash, but it was only stinky shrimp pasta, she does an interview with the news, WTOC, in which she still, even at this late stage, this is October 24th, that's 19 days after the initial 911 call, and after several interviews where her story has just been shot to pieces. She does this interview where she holds herself out as the victim of a child abduction, still on that, and has the gall to make an appeal to the public to just please bring Quinton home safe. And the evidence will show that she knows he's not safe. And she knows he's not coming home.
My kids woke up to me screaming, "Where's Quinton?" You're running through the house. I ran and looked everywhere, inside, outside, so screaming for help. I've been here every day since this. I'm not running and I'm not hiding. And if something does come up that I am at fault, I will take myself to that police station.
Well, that was untrue. Her mom ended up taking her.
And I'll walk with her. All we want is justice for Quinton's life. We want justice too. We want answers.
We don't care the cost.
We want answers just like everybody else does. At the end of it all, we love you, baby Q. My little monkey, and we want it home.
That same day in which she's claiming to the news she had no idea what happened and to just want him home, she sends this text message to Savannah Solomon of the FBI. And this is just the latest Hail Mary. After all those statements about going to the Chevron and then going to Azalea, what she was doing there, and I was actually throwing away trash and not Quinton. At this point, October 24th, the same day as that news interview, she and Danny are split at this point. He kind of seems to see the writing on the wall for her and has left town, I believe, and I think they're not together at this point. And so now's the perfect time to try to put it on Danny. I'm not lying for Danny anymore. The reason why my story about Oragel and shit didn't make sense was because Danny told me to say that he was the one who left. My phone was in the car from my previous trip. And the reason she says that is her phone GPS puts her at the dumpsters too, not just the video. So anyway, she's throwing it on Danny and is now saying, you know what, I didn't actually make that trip. Well, that's him, not me. And they get her in for an interview a couple days later to formalize that statement. And they just sort of let her talk and put it out there. But the evidence will show that it's clearly not true. It was a desperate attempt to just try something new after, I don't know, a dozen lies to that point. And that interview was on October 31st, last day in October. Now, on November 18th, about 3 or 4 weeks after they started searching through that landfill, this arduous task, challenging thing, all volunteers. They finally find what they're looking for. November 18th, it's a memorable day for the people who are involved in this landfill search, because they find Quinton, and he's not in good shape. Okay, they find him in pieces, mostly bones, a foot. It's not as though he's in one place on that search deck. They're finding bones in different
Wow.
lines spread out. He's torn apart. They send Quinton's remains up to the FBI lab at Quantico, Virginia, where DNA analysis is done. And they confirm whatever.
Wow. We never saw that before. Man, they should blow up a picture of that and put it right in front, right on top of her bunk. So every time she goes to bed, she could see that. That's evil. We're
everybody
walking
already
evil.
knew, is that this is Quinton. And the defendant comes in for one.
Like, you were his mother. I don't get people like that.
Last interview.
Like, one more pause. She's literally up there with the Letitia Stouks. Like, you're literally. And the Lori Vallow.
So that's where she ends up. After having given this very detailed cover story about going to the Chevron to meet Misty for Oragel, and having added this later, this richly detailed account of having thrown away some garbage at Azalea in the dumpster.
Oh, I'm sure you got a
but
lot to
only
write.
eating shrimp pasta. Her final story, when they found Quinton after tracing the trash and making it undeniable that what she was throwing away in that dumpster at Azalea was her son's body, the best she could do in her last interview is to claim a total and complete lack of memory from seeing him in his pack and play at 10-something to snapping back into consciousness on the way home from Azalea. And we'll watch it, you'll see more specifically what she says happened is that she was driving home, hit a set of railroad tracks, and that jolted her back into now forming memories again.
Nobody's going to believe that. She hit a set of train tracks and that bumped her back in reality. I have some mental health stuff like, depression, anxiety, ADHD, stuff like that. I wonder if I go over a set of railroad tracks, if that'll bounce me back into, not having them problems. That'd be awesome. That'd be cool. If the power of the train tracks, that's what they've got. Just don't stay on them too long, you know?
That's the story she ends up with. After those richly detailed accounts of false statements for what happened during that trip,
Right,
now
Sue?
she just can't remember
Hey,
anything
Evie.
that happened during the critical time period in this case, the murder and the disposal of the body. So that is, as concise as I could make it, the account of what happened and what how the investigation unfolded. What will the trial look like? Okay, so that's kind of the story, start to finish. What will the trial look like? Trial's not like an opening statement. All right, we bring witnesses in one at a time. It can be kind of disjointed and choppy because each individual comes in and they can only talk about really their role and what they did, heard, saw, that sort of thing. You will hear from some of the responding officers. You'll hear from people like Michelle McCarta, people in Quinton's life who can tell you some things about how the defendant felt about Quinton and treated him. You'll hear from the investigators who took these statements and followed up on them. You'll hear from some of the people who were involved in this search of the landfill. You'll hear from some of the scientists at Quantico who were tasked with identifying Quinton and seeing what they could make of these remains, which are just totally torn apart. What I do not expect to hear is exactly how the defendant killed Quinton. And that's because she covered it up. It's because she got rid of the body. All right, the evidence will show that her specific intent from the outset was that he never be found at all. And him being found in pieces, little bitty pieces, was the next best thing. The judge will tell you that in a case like this, we do not have to prove exactly how the defendant killed Quinton. Under these circumstances, how could you? And that is a sensible rule. Because what we have to prove, what is important, is not exactly how she killed him, but that she killed him. The fact that she did it. And the evidence that we will present to you will do that. It will do that, beyond a reasonable doubt. So at the end of the case, when all the evidence is in, we will make our closing arguments, and we will ask you to find her guilty of all of the charges in the indictment. I want to thank you for your attention.
We got to get her on more than just lying about going to the Azalea trailer park. Right? I mean, I know that's where he was dumped. I just wish we knew how it happened. Like, I wish she wouldn't have had that chance to put him into that dumpster. I mean, I wish she wouldn't have had the chance to unalive her son. But I don't know if it's genetics or what in that family. But Billy Joe has 2 kids, a boy and a girl, and they're both in prison for unaliving someone. Now, if I was Billy, I would be feeling all kinds of ways. Yeah, there is a special place in hell for monsters like this. There absolutely are. I mean, I think that she knew when that dumpster was going to run. I don't think she got that lucky. You know what I mean? I don't see her getting that, like, being that lucky. Like, I think she put him in there. See, this whole time, I thought she put Quinton in there in the morning. But she dumped him at night, in the middle of the night. And then they showed us a piece of his skull. I'm assuming that's what that was. And oh my gosh. We'd never seen any of Quinton before. We haven't even heard, we didn't even get to read an autopsy. The only thing that we've seen is just her arrest record, arrest affidavit. So, yeah, Richard, yeah, about the morning. That's me too. I mean, I did videos over it. I'm gonna keep them up because I mean, that's what we had to go with. Yeah, classic one. She sure did. She might have known from going over to her friend Misty's or Missy or whatever her name is. I cannot believe that. So let's see if there's anything on the old tickety talk. They did have 14 jurors seated for Richard Allen's trial that's supposed to start on the 17th. So they need 2 more. Let's see. Oh my. Oh my. That's too cute. That's too cute. Oh my gosh, you were the cutest, Quinton. So Stephen Stearns will stand trial for the S abuse charges in February, followed by a trial September for Madeline Soto's murder. Good luck rotting in hell, you dirty piece of shit. Delphi murder trials, jury selection. I already told you about that. And you know, I have no respect. Oh, here's the latest booking photo of old Richard Allen, old Richie Allen. That's the face that I would never want to see on a bridge. I'm just sorry, I wouldn't. I wouldn't. Nope. Nope, nope, not me. Whew. Do I need to? Oh no, okay. I'm just gonna go back down a little bit. Oh wait, right here. Go back to this. Put her in a suitcase, talking about Sarah. Speaking of which, I still gotta get my suitcase. I will do that too. 13 jurors picked, 1 disqualified, down to 12. We don't know if it was a man or a woman. They are still looking for 4 alternates. Oh. What is this? Sarah Boone's attorney tells the judge she starts her day around 2 a.m. to be transported to court. She won't get back from court each night until potentially 9 p.m. She's worried she won't have any opportunities to shower. They are going to see how it goes tonight and tomorrow morning. You're so disgusting, Sarah Boone. Like, I mean, if you don't have your own private shower and they have to take you out of your jail cell or something like that, I'm sure that's something that you can work with the guards at the jail. You don't need to bring it into the court. But usually you're in a cell block with a bunch of other people and you have a shower and you can use it anytime that you need to use it. She just wants to get her hair and makeup done. She's really wanting the hair and makeup. Man, she's something else. I thought about streaming both of them trials at the same time if I do it. One on one channel, one on the other. Just because I'm all over the place. The judge seems to be funny. I'm just seeing if there's anything. This is supposed to be about Leilani, but it's talking about everything but. There we go. There's a little bit more. 3 out of 50 potential jurors immediately recognize Sarah Boone. Only 3 out of 50. She's probably feeling some type of way. She probably is. Okay, so before I get off here, I got to do a lot more digging. I'm not sure. I thought he was from Lehigh County. I'm not sure now, but Cat the Hat, Nick the Hat, if you guys didn't see my community post earlier, is he in jail? Because I have a feeling he is. Let's just say I have a really good feeling that he might be. And I wrote his lawyer. Let me show you over here. Not his pretend lawyer, Jared Lesnick or whatever his name is. I didn't call anybody or do any of that stuff, because that would be weird. But I did say this. Good morning. Did your client Nick get arrested? We hadn't heard from him in a while. I sent that at 12:02 p.m. today, and I have yet to hear anything back. I don't know. She did, Brittany F? Oh. I just had a feeling. Because he hasn't posted anything about nothing. And neither has dog. So I was just putting 2 and 2 together. Ooh. Well. I tried to look up Lehigh County because that's where he's from. I mean, it's out there. That's been out there. I think that's where he's from anyway. That's where the business at night is registered to. So that's probably not. I probably need to just do a little more sleuthing and see exactly what county he's in and then check the county. But I'm not sure exactly what county he's in. Yeah. Wow. I hope he is kind of in a way. I mean, I wouldn't really want to jail on anybody, but you can't be out here doing the mostest. You just can't. Now I'm probably going to probably get me a C and D and all the things too, because I asked where he was, but shit, I'm just a troll. Where's Dog? Dog's on his dog cast. I don't know. Dog's been just nowhere. It's just crazy. They should keep her in a suitcase in the jail. Oh, that's good. The babies are doing good. Yeah, I mean, let's go over there actually. Let's see. Nick. Okay. October 5th. Yeah. October 6th was the last thing that he's posted. And that was about like something else. That was about P. Diddy. Yeah, like, At Night is seeking candidates for stay-at-home positions related to the search for Sebastian Rogers that require attention to detail, patience, and determination for 2 hours a day. What do they need? Another hung? How do you apply? Look, all you interested person email as At Night agency within 24 hours. Well, I'm past the deadline, but I could write them under my other name. I have a different name. I put it under Tanya. I only have that name. I don't even have an alt account unless you count unfiltered. Oh, that was definitely from Sean. Captain. No, not yet. She didn't testify yet, I don't believe. No. That's what, yeah, there's certain people I want to hear, definitely want to hear. So, but that's all I got for you guys for tonight. I will be back on tomorrow. I may do a day live. I may not. You never know. I'm not sure. Just make sure your bells are alerted and you're subscribed, because I am all over the place right now. We will get back to a time that we do our lives, but we always do a night live, the same time, usually every night. But I like to do day lives with you guys as well. So yeah, so make sure you're all subbed up and all those good things. Don't forget to like the video if you guys don't mind. That way more people will get to see it. It really does depend on you guys if people see the videos or not. So I'll blame you. No, I'm just kidding. Nightbot will never pack a suitcase for a trip. I'll buy clothes for morning. That's funny. Thank you guys again for being here. I'll see you guys all tomorrow. Have a wonderful night. Bye.